What if I told you that the difference between being just tolerated and being truly treasured often comes down to a few words, a change in tone, a choice in language, and a moment of real presence? Not games, not tricks, just real truth spoken with strength and clarity. Say these things and men won't just notice you, they will respect you, honor you, and rise to meet you. Not because you asked for a crown, but because you spoke like a queen long before anyone handed you one. When people say that respect attracts respect, they are speaking to something deep about how human beings, especially men, view others and react to them. Respect is not something you can simply ask for or demand. It's something you show, almost naturally, by how you carry yourself, by the tone of your voice, and by the words you use. When a woman speaks with clear confidence and real self-respect, it signals to a man that she knows her value and deserves to be treated accordingly. This isn't about being arrogant or trying to dominate the conversation. It's about a steady, unshakable presence, a way of speaking that says, I know who I am. Men, especially those who live by structure and responsibility, are very responsive to the feeling of confidence. They aren't drawn to neediness or confusion. They are drawn to certainty, even if they don't immediately realize it. When a woman speaks from a place of confidence without apologizing for her needs or her standards, it creates a powerful tone. That tone acts like gravity. It anchors the conversation and invites the man to step up and meet her at her level, not by pressure or force, but through genuine respect. Now, what does that actually look like? It means you don't water down your opinions just to make someone else comfortable. You don't hide your values or desires just to avoid being rejected. You don't shrink yourself to fit someone else's idea of what's acceptable. Instead, you speak your truth clearly, not with anger, but without apology. And when someone crosses a line, you address it directly, not with cruelty, but with the calm strength of someone who knows she doesn't have to beg for what she deserves. In every conversation, there is an energy exchange happening. When a woman speaks uncertainly, when she's too accommodating or hesitant, it sends a silent message to the man that there's room to test how serious she is. Men, often without even knowing it, will test boundaries. It's not usually malicious, it's just part of human interaction. Your way of speaking is your first line of defense. A soft maybe when you mean no, or a nervous laugh when your boundary is crossed, these are silent invitations to keep pushing. But when you speak with true self-respect, it clears all that noise. It says, this is who I am. This is what I expect. I will not crumble under pressure. That kind of communication carries weight, and that weight is attractive. You don't have to be loud, cold, or act overly tough. You simply treat yourself the way you want to be treated. You set the tone for every interaction. Because men are often drawn to structure, they will either rise or fall depending on the structure you create through your presence and your words. The words you use don't have to be fancy or complicated. Simple often shows more strength. Saying things like, I'm not comfortable with that, or I need some time to think, or that doesn't work for me, are not demands. They are clear declarations. They don't push anyone away. They simply define where the line is. And the right man, the one who truly respects you, will adapt, not out of fear, but because he recognizes that a woman who respects herself cannot be treated carelessly. She deserves to be approached with thoughtfulness and respect. The way you talk, the energy behind your words, the steadiness of your voice. This is your first act of self-respect, and it invites others, especially men, to match that energy, not out of fear, but out of recognition. Because when you lead with respect, it becomes reflected back to you. Affirming a man's strength is not manipulation, it's understanding. It taps into a deep truth about how men are wired. At their core, men are drawn to challenge, responsibility, and recognition. It doesn't mean every man craves constant praise or that they fall apart without it, but being seen as capable, strong, and trustworthy gives them something important to live up to. It activates a sense of purpose inside them. It's not about boosting someone's ego, it's about calling out their potential. And the way you talk to a man can either bring that potential forward or shut it down. When a woman says something as simple as, "I believe in you," or "I know you can handle this," she's not just offering support. She's setting a tone that reshapes the relationship. She's saying, "I see the best in you and I expect you to live up to it." That kind of belief can pull a man into his highest self. It invites action instead of avoidance, strength instead of laziness. Men may act tough, withdrawn, or indifferent, but underneath, they care deeply about how they are seen, especially by women they admire and value. Now, think about what happens when the opposite is true. When a woman constantly criticizes, points out mistakes, or uses sarcasm, even if it's meant as a joke, it chips away at the very thing she wants from him: his strength, his leadership, his effort. If a man feels that whatever he does is wrong, that his efforts are invisible or unappreciated, he either shuts down or gets defensive. Not because he's weak, but because he no longer feels there's a place for him. But when a woman genuinely acknowledges his efforts, even small ones, it lights a spark inside him. It tells him he is not just wanted, but needed. And when a man feels needed, when he feels he's bringing something real and valuable to the table, everything about him changes. He becomes more giving, more focused, more protective. Not because he's being manipulated, but because he's being called into his purpose. The key here is honesty. A woman shouldn't say things she doesn't believe just to make a man feel good, but she should learn to see the difference between a man who doesn't care and a man who's trying but feels unseen. Sometimes, just a few words of real recognition can make all the difference. Simple phrases like, "I saw how you handled that. It was impressive," or "You really kept your cool in that tough moment," do more than flatter. They validate. And validation is different from shallow flattery. Flattery is empty. Recognition is powerful. One creates dependency, the other builds dignity. Men don't always express themselves in emotional language. Many show their feelings through actions. When you acknowledge the effort, the self-control, the discipline behind those actions, you're speaking in a language they understand deeply. You're not just telling them they are enough. You're telling them that their strength matters and is seen. Again, this isn't about giving up your power or being submissive. It's about dealing with reality. Strong men become even stronger in the company of a woman who sees them clearly and speaks to the man inside, not the boy seeking approval. When a woman speaks like this, she doesn't just influence a man, she inspires him. And that inspiration lays the foundation for loyalty, effort, and real devotion. Many people wrongly think that setting boundaries is about being aggressive or distrusting. But real boundaries are not walls, they're the framework where respect can grow. They invite real connection that is honest, strong, and lasting. Boundaries aren't threats or ways to control others. They're simply clarity, and clarity prevents confusion and chaos in relationship. When a woman knows her own standards and can calmly explain what she will and won't accept, she isn't shutting herself off from love. She's protecting the space where love can thrive. When you say no, with kindness and certainty, you're not being difficult, you're being clear. And clarity builds trust. A good man might not always agree with your boundary right away, but if he has integrity, he will respect it. He might test it, not because he's bad, but because he wants to see if your words match your actions. When you stay consistent, when you honor your own needs without drama, you teach him exactly how to treat you. You don't need to threaten, withdraw, or beg. You simply say, "This is what I need to feel good. This is how I want to connect. This is what doesn't work for me," and you follow through. Many people avoid setting boundaries because they're scared of being rejected. They think if they say no, they'll seem less attractive or lovable. But the truth is the opposite. Boundaries show self-respect, and self-respect is magnetic. It says you aren't waiting for someone to choose you, you have already chosen yourself. But when a man feels that, everything shifts. You aren't asking him to validate you, you are offering him the chance to earn a place beside you, not by doing tricks or chasing simply by respecting your space and your standards. Men aren't afraid of boundaries when they're shared with kindness. In fact, many men are drawn to women who know themselves well enough to create clear standards. It gives him direction. It creates safety. Passive or vague communication only leads to confusion. It makes a man either pull away to avoid making mistakes or overdo it in the wrong ways. But when you speak clearly, hold your standards, stop over-explaining, and trust that your no is enough, it becomes much easier for him to meet your needs naturally. And the real magic is this: boundaries don't just protect you, they lift the relationship higher. They invite emotional maturity. They filter out the ones who aren't ready for a real connection. They sharpen and purify the bond. You stop ending up in situations where your needs are seen as burdens. You find yourself in relationships where your needs are honored as part of who you are. A man cannot read your mind, and he shouldn't have to. If something hurts you, you say it. If something feels wrong, you point it out calmly and clearly. Not to control him, but to own your voice. And when you do that, everything changes. Give the man in your life a real chance to respond like a grown man, not like a scared child dodging punishment, but like a true partner stepping up to meet you in your truth. The beauty of this is that boundaries don't need force, they don't need drama, they only need steadiness. You don't have to yell to be understood, you just have to mean what you say. A soft but steady no says far more than a loud yes spoken out of fear. A calm but clear sharing of your needs carries more power than endless pleas for someone to understand you. Because when your words and your energy match, when your tone and your truth are aligned, a man instantly knows he's facing someone who cannot be pushed around, only partnered with. Respecting the masculine without losing yourself to it is an art built on balance. It's about valuing the unique gifts men bring to a relationship, traits like decisiveness, protectiveness, and action-driven thinking without losing any of your own power. It's not about handing over control or becoming passive. It's about creating space for polarity, the natural pull between masculine and feminine energies, where both can thrive in their full expressions without clashing or blending into one another. There's a wrong belief floating around these days that appreciating masculine strengths somehow betrays the idea of equality. But true equality doesn't mean we all become the same. Masculine and feminine energies are not enemies, they are complements. When a woman speaks in a way that honors a man's instinct to lead, protect, or take initiative, it doesn't mean she lacks those qualities. It means she's choosing not to crowd the same lane. She's welcoming him to step fully into his strength while she stands firmly in hers. She's not stepping back in weakness, she's stepping aside for the dance to flow. It might sound small, but it's powerful. When a woman says, "I appreciate the way you handled that," or "I feel safer knowing you're thinking things through," she isn't giving away her voice or her intelligence. She's showing that she sees his efforts, that she respects his contribution, and that she's confident enough in herself to allow him space to lead when it makes sense, while always keeping her own voice strong. She can still step in, question, or redirect when needed. That's what true balance looks like. There's real strength in this kind of grace. It's not weakness at all. It's deep self-assurance. A woman who tries to control every choice, correct every move, or constantly prove she doesn't need anyone isn't acting from strength. She's moving from fear. Fear of being disappointed, fear of letting her guard down. But a woman grounded in her own worth doesn't fear collaboration. She's not scared to trust because she knows her power isn't at risk. She's not threatened by a man's presence or leadership because her own remains unshaken. From that strong place, she can say, "I see your leadership and I honor it, but know that I'm still present, I'm still thinking, and I'll always speak when it matters." This keeps both people engaged and evolving. It doesn't drain the relationship into a battle of wills or make it dull. It keeps the polarity alive. And that's where true attraction burns brightest. Men don't thrive when they're constantly doubted or micromanaged. It doesn't inspire them, it emasculates them. But when their efforts are recognized, when their instincts are respected, They step up naturally. They take responsibility and lead not from a place of dominance, but from a deep desire to serve and protect. A good man doesn't seek control, he seeks trust. He wants to know that the woman he loves sees his strength and believes he will use it wisely. Of course, that trust isn't blind. It must be earned, and must be built on mutual respect. If a man abuses the trust and freedom given to him, the dynamic must change. A strong woman knows when to lean back and when to step forward. She is soft, but also made of steel. She is open, but not naive. She's not playing games for power. She's seeking true alignment. She honors his masculinity not because she must, but because she chooses to. Because she knows honoring him doesn't take anything away from her. It enriches the bond between them. It allows both people to grow bigger in each other's presence instead of shrinking. In this kind of space, real intimacy blossoms, not through control, but through trust, mutual recognition, and a shared dedication to building something lasting. Speaking from a place of vision, not from victimhood, is one of the most powerful shifts anyone can make in communication, especially in love. It's the difference between pulling someone closer with clarity and pushing them away with blame. When a woman expresses her needs through vision, she becomes a guide, not a critic. She paints a future worth walking toward instead of only pointing out what's wrong. This change in energy transforms everything. Not just how a man hears her, but how he feels about his place in her life. Men respond to direction and purpose. They are wired to solve, pursue, and build. When a woman speaks from vision, she inspires his instincts instead of activating his defenses. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," she says, "I feel most connected to you when you really tune in. I'd love even more of that." Instead of, "You don't care what I think," she says, "It really means a lot to me when you ask for my thoughts. I feel valued when you do." These aren't manipulations, they are honest, heartfelt ways of expressing desire built on hope, not punishment. Victimhood, on the other hand, drains everyone involved. Speaking from constant blame or complaint wears away connection. It doesn't motivate change, it causes either defensiveness or withdrawal. A man who hears non-stop criticism may shut down, feeling like he'll never measure up, and soon the woman demands more while he gives less, causing frustration on both sides. But a woman who shifts to vision changes the cycle. She owns her experience. She's not pointing fingers. She's saying, "Here's the future I dream of for us. Will you join me in creating it?" This way of speaking also shows maturity and emotional intelligence. It shows she's thoughtful, intentional, and committed to partnership, not project management. This makes a man feel safe in the right ways, not because he's escaping responsibility, but because he's trusted to rise into his own. When a woman frames her needs with clarity and an invitation to grow together, she's not just asking for change, she's calling him to deeper alignment with her. Being specific is important too. Vague complaints don't lead to action. Clear, actionable vision does. Saying, "I want to feel more appreciated" is a start, but saying, "It makes my whole day when you send me a thoughtful message or leave a little note," gives him something real to do. Specificity builds connection. It removes confusion and turns him into a teammate, not a contestant constantly trying to guess the right move. Emotional maturity also plays a huge role here. It means expressing deep feelings without exploding. It means staying grounded even when you're hurting. Emotions like sadness, anger, and disappointment are real and important, but how they are expressed determines whether they bring you closer or push you apart. When a woman speaks even her hardest truths with calmness and composure, they're easier for a man to hear. She's not swinging wildly, she's standing steady, and respect naturally grows from that. A man who hears a woman speak from vision feels drawn in, not driven away. He feels challenged to be better in the best way. He doesn't feel cornered or belittled, he feels inspired to rise. That kind of trust, built from faith and belief instead of fear and blame, creates a powerful foundation for lasting partnership. Hey, there is a rare and undeniable power in softness when it comes from strength. Not the softness that submits out of fear or tries to earn love by pleasing, but the kind that flows from solid inner knowing. When a woman speaks from this space, gentle yet unwavering, her energy becomes magnetic. Most men live in a world full of competition and constant striving. When they encounter a softness that isn't weak but wise, they are captivated. It doesn't threaten their masculinity, it awakens it. Many mistake strength for harshness. They think they must be loud or combative to be respective. But true strength is quiet. It stands without needing to shout. A woman deeply grounded in her own value doesn't need volume to be heard. Her presence alone speaks volumes. She leads without pushing. She influences without demanding. And her softness becomes a kind of emotional generosity, a way of speaking with kindness even during conflict. She chooses connection over control. When a man hears a woman calmly state her needs or boundaries with warmth, he feels respected, not attacked. And respect pulls him closer. It doesn't flatten him. It invites him into his best self. Her softness gives him space to be both strong and vulnerable. It signals he doesn't need to armor up just to be near her, and that freedom makes him want to show up even more. This doesn't mean tolerating disrespect or sugarcoating the truth. Real softness is about delivering truth in a way that can be heard without losing connection to your own heart. It's about saying, I see you, I care, and I still stand firm. That energy doesn't push men away, it calls the right ones closer. Men who are ready for depth don't respond to nagging, they respond to trust, to tone, to presence. When a woman speaks with both conviction and grace, she doesn't have to demand respect, she commands it. When a woman embraces clarity, strength, and grace, when she honors the masculine without betraying her own essence, when she speaks from vision rather than fear and delivers even her hardest truths with kindness, she doesn't just win attention, she wins loyalty, respect, and devotion. She becomes a mirror for the best within a man, not because she needs him to complete her, but because her fullness invites his. She becomes a queen not because she demands a throne, but because she built one within herself, and only those worthy are invited to sit beside her.